Hey everyone, my name is Antony P, and welcome to this full seminar video on tutoring tips that was delivered recently at National Taiwan University of Science and Technology, also known as Taiwan Tech, here in beautiful Taiwan. I really enjoyed this seminar. The students were teaching assistants for English as a medium of instruction courses, so I really enjoyed getting to know this cohort and getting to present at a new university. If you would like to invite me to your university, please find my contact details below. Thanks. Now let's get into the video.
So we are very happy to invite Antony to give us a talk. So Antony is from Cincinnati, Ohio, and right now he has been traveling around, went to Japan, and right now in Taiwan for 2 years. And currently he's working for the Uni-editing, but also he's teaching in National Jeju University also. So today he's going to talk about how the TAs work and how it can enhance your TA ability. So without further, I think he will introduce himself more. So without further introduction, let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome. Welcome, everybody. I hope you're enjoying the food. Feel free to eat during the lesson. Again, my name is Antony. Please call me Antony. And let's talk about me just a little bit. Get the English warmed up. I was an English teacher and individual tutor in Japan. I had small children, I had grandmas, I taught business English courses, I taught high school students studying for entrance exams, I taught college students studying for their exams as well. That was my big introduction into teaching. Then COVID hit, and I had to work online. That was a great, horrible experience. 2 years of teaching online, I learned a lot. I worked with students from Brazil, Russia, China, Korea, Japan, Taiwan, India, around the world. I learned a lot about different places and different students, but sitting in front of your computer all day with a microphone was really challenging for me. Additional tutoring experience I have. I work with National Taiwan Normal University. I work with their writing center. I am a tutor, and I also make different educational materials for them. I work full-time with Uni-edit English Editing. I design educational material for international academics, writing, publishing, and presenting their research. I give presentations like this around Taiwan. I'm very happy to do it. I love traveling around Taiwan. It's a beautiful country. Don't take it for granted. We've spent a lot of time in Ohio with no mountains, no oceans, no beautiful rivers, no beautiful wildlife, so I love being in Taiwan for this purpose. And additionally, I make educational content and post it to YouTube, so you can find it there as well. Lectures like this, and also smaller professional and personal development videos. I'll just bring it all up. From Cincinnati, Ohio. I currently live in Wenshan, just around the hill. This little green mountain right there, we're just on the other side of that right now. Yeah? So that's just the border. I hike all around Taiwan into sports, and my hobby, I take photos of insects and little animals. Taiwan is like a great place to be. Taiwan is known as like one of the butterfly capitals of the world. My Taiwanese friends did not know that, but all my foreigner friends do. So it's a beautiful place to be. Happy to be here. Quick thank you to the organizers for inviting me and everybody for helping set up. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Today, we're going to talk about tutoring skills. I'm going to be a little general, and then you can take the lesson and make it more specific for your purposes. We are all very different in this classroom. Maybe you teach different courses. Maybe you're from different backgrounds, different majors. And so try to use some imagination. How can you use these tips in your real working experience? Lesson today is about 40 to 45 minutes, 50 minutes for the total time. We're going to talk about types of tutoring sessions, how to start a session, identifying goals, focusing on specifics, adjusting speed, use a puzzle-solving approach, taking notes in a shared document, using examples, providing encouragement, considering culture, create a supportive environment, concluding a session, and recap and homework. Let you take a look at this for a second. Seems like a lot of information. Some of them are really simple. Some of them we need a little more time. At any time, just raise your hand to ask a question. I assume these microphones work if you want as well. If you're unsure and you want to ask in Chinese, we can get it translated. English is also fine. Anytime. We will also have time in the middle and at the end for questions. Please raise your hand if you've been a tutor before, like a formal one-on-one tutor. Okay, about half, that's good. How many of you have been a teacher before? Okay, less hands, that's good. Okay, that helps me with this presentation. So the types of tutoring sessions. Tutoring can happen in a few ways. In-class personalized help. So if you say, excuse me, can I ask a question really quick? And then you go over and you give help just a little bit. That's really quick. That personalized help is maybe 10, 20, 30 seconds. Walk-in hours in a private office. You're sitting in your office and a student knocks on the door and asks for your help. Scheduled sessions. Scheduled sessions, while the strategies will be similar, today we are going to focus on scheduled sessions. This would typically be like an hour tutoring session or an hour meeting. The strategies are the same, but this is where we're going to focus our attention. You can have online tutoring. So online tutoring and in-person tutoring have different dynamics. If you ever have a video chat with a student, this is where that would be. Building relationships with students online takes more time and more patience, especially if the connection is not clear. So I don't think we're doing a lot of online anymore, but if, there's no if, yeah. We don't need to know this. There's no if. Starting a session, very important. Your first words, how you interact with a student when they first come to you, it sets the tone for your entire meeting. So many students are nervous about tutoring. Many students are nervous about getting help. It means they don't know. And that makes people nervous. So start a session with small talk. Talk about the weather, an event, a previous session you had with them. Be simple. Small talk helps the student warm up their English. I introduced myself and other things today to help you warm up your English. I did not start with content. I started with just talking about myself a little bit. This can change your entire session, is letting the student warm up and get comfortable. Identify goals for the session. What is the student preparing for? Is it check the assignment guidelines, check the due date? An assignment due tomorrow is very different than an assignment due in 2 weeks. And your session will be extremely different. If it's due tomorrow, you say, what do you need right now? Right? What do you need to pass? If it's due in 2 weeks, you say, what are we working on? What do you need help with? It's much more general. Project importance. Is it a small assignment that's just a homework assignment, or is it their final dissertation? Is it homework? Is it a paper submission? It's important for tutors and TAs to know this information. And lastly, presentation, which would mostly focus on public speaking ability. Establish clear goals for each tutoring session and communicate them to the student to provide focus and direction. So the student tells you what they're preparing for, and then you provide goals for the session. It's going to look something like this. To identify goals for the session, the tutor can ask, what topic would you like to focus on for this lesson? Let's be very specific. For this lesson. Secondly, in the last session, we worked on organizing your argument. I understand that you have a big assignment that is due on January 20th. Would you like to work more on that assignment, or would you like to work on something else? Let's be very specific with the students. On a personal note, often students don't know exactly what they need. They just know they have a problem. So talking to the students about the assignment and about the goals helps the student understand what they need, and that makes for a clearer session. Identifying goals, number 4. What does the student think their session goals are? Student, my slides are finished. I just need help talking smoothly with good pronunciation. I hear this all the time. Oh, no, my slides are okay. I just need help talking. Student, I need help writing my abstract. Okay, that's very specific. Nice. The student, can you help me brainstorm research topics? This is a good student. They know what they need. However, what you think they need assistance with may be different, and it's your job to find a balance. The student says, I need help with my slides, and you think, and you need help with pronunciation. Yeah? The student always doesn't know what they need, and you don't always know what they need. That's why we find a balance. Take the student's input, take your input, and it's your job to find the balance. Often they say, oh, my slides are good. I just need help with pronunciation. And I always find slides can be improved. Almost always. If the student says, I just need help working on my pronunciation, the tutor can ask for more details. Would you also like assistance with designing your slides? How confident are you that your content is good enough? That's a great question. Some students, oh, it's good. My professor reviewed it. My professor likes the slides. My professor likes it. I like it. We're good. Okay, no worries. Or, I don't know. Then it's a problem. Number 6, restate the goals at the beginning of a tutoring session to provide focus and direction. Okay, so today, let's focus on your introduction section during this session. You can also schedule another session with me next week to discuss your abstract. Focusing on future goals is great. Sweet! So today we will work on writing concise sentences for your conference poster. Focus and direction. Hey guys, I give live presentations to university students around Asia on this topic and on similar academic writing and publishing topics. To invite me to your school, you can reach out to me via email. Thanks, and I'll talk to you soon. Next topic, when providing guidance, focus on specifics. Be specific about what aspect of the student's work you are addressing. If you are revising a student's research paper's paragraph, focus on one type of correction at a time. We might see 10 different mistakes, but the student won't know what you're correcting. So here's what we do. 1, edit the grammar first. 2, check understanding, maybe with examples. Then you can reorganize the argument structure. If you reorganize the argument and change the grammar, the student might not think you're doing 2 different things. And if the student does know you're doing 2 different things, they know how to improve the rest of their paper on their own. Number 2, specific guidance. Use specific examples or excerpts from the student's work to illustrate your feedback. This makes it easier for the student to understand and apply your suggestions. I like to give examples that are not related. That's my problem, right? I think of some interesting story from my past, but if it's not related, the student will have a hard time understanding the content. So here's an example sentence the tutor can say, I see you used besides to join these 2 ideas together. In this case, in addition is more suitable because you are adding another point to your argument. It's very specific to the paper. Fun fact for our English writers, please don't use the word besides. It's one of my least favorite academic English words. In addition, furthermore, moreover are all stronger words. Just a fun fact, little pet peeve of mine. Adjust session speed to match students' need. This takes time and patience. Working online taught me this very quickly. Comprehension speed is different for each student. English ability could be high. comprehension ability could be slow. Comprehension ability on Monday is very different than comprehension ability on Thursday. And on Friday, like you all, you're ready for the weekend. Yeah? So understanding that, being empathetic to that is really important. For non-native English speakers, Monday is the day with the lowest English ability because you spent all weekend talking in Chinese. And then you come to class on Monday and you need to go back to English. My students told me that in America. They speak Chinese all weekend long. They go to English class. Monday is always the hardest for them because they have to reset their thinking. Comprehension speed is different for each student for each topic as well. If you are a mechanical engineer, English comprehension in mechanical engineering probably is okay. Political science, English comprehension will go down. It's not what they're used to using professionally. So find out what the student's good at, what's their major, what classes have they taken. All of those things are important. Vital. They're vital. Comprehension speed is different for each student, for each topic, for each session. If you've had 5 sessions with them, they understand your English. They understand your ability. They understand more and they're more confident. They're more comfortable. English comprehension in the first time you're meeting with somebody is always at their lowest. Their comprehension will only get better. So always start easier. Before moving to a new topic, check in with the student. That's how you know. If they always don't understand, that's when you change speeds or language ability. Adjust session speed to match the student's needs, part 2. Would you like me to explain that again? Love this question. Would you like to move on to the next topic? Okay, they control the speed. Would you like me to explain that again using different words? Oh, love it. Love it, love it, love it. These check-in questions give the student a chance to adjust the session's speed. Session speed is the student's need? Yeah, it's up to them. It's not up to you. I had a good example. Maybe I'll think about it in a second. Oh, does anybody know what's a bad check-in question? It's a common question and it's really bad. So I have, would you like me to explain that again? What's the not good version of that? Do you understand? Okay, next topic. This almost always means this. Yeah? Do you understand? Good. Great. Next topic. Adjust English level to match student speed. So before it was adjust session speed or content speed. Each student has different level of English. If you're working with a student that's studying Chinese, each student has a different level of Chinese. Adjust speaking speed and complexity to match the level of the student. Almost always, I speak a little too fast. I know that about myself. So almost always, I have to slow down. Something good to know. Next section, use a puzzle-solving approach. This is where we're going to separate traditional teaching from tutoring, being a TA, and working with somebody. So treat each session as a collaborative puzzle-solving session. Sometimes they have the answer. Great. You ask them, I see you wrote present tense. And they go, oh no, past tense. Perfect. They correct the mistake. Sometimes you discover the answer together. Great. They don't know the answer, you don't know the answer, you work together, you find the answer. Fantastic. It's collaborative and it's easy. Sometimes you have the answer. It's okay. but it doesn't help learning because the teacher already gave them the answer 5 or 6 times in class, and now they're asking you, which means telling them the answer isn't going to work because it hasn't worked yet. That's why they're with you. It's okay. Don't do it often. Using a puzzle-solving approach number 2. Puzzle-solving approaches makes your session feel more personal. Huge difference than traditional teaching. Personal. You don't need to be a traditional teacher or lecturer during a tutoring session. I like to think of tutoring as a conversation. Hey, Antony, I have a question. Yeah, what's going on? What are we working on? Hey, welcome. How can I help you? Yeah? Probably the most useful tip. Take notes in a shared document. Problem. When students hear a suggestion in English, they likely translate the feedback mentally into their native language. So they add a step in their brain. Feedback in, translate, feedback out. Solution. Students need to hear and see the feedback you give. I have this on here because sometimes I'll be like, okay, so you're saying that you want to compare 2 different methods in a longitudinal study and brainstorm societal impacts that it might have? And they're like, yeah. What did you say? And I'm like, I don't know. But if I'm typing at the same time, we can construct that together. I can see what I said. They can read what I said 5, 6, 7 times. Because often when you have your big moments of collaboration, you don't remember everything that happened. And you forget what happens. And you forget what happens really fast. So sometimes a student will make a recording of the video. They record especially during COVID, they would just record the video chat. But we don't have that luxury. How do we do this? Let's be specific. Number 2, open a Google Doc and share it with the student. If you don't use Google Docs, I guess you can do with Microsoft Word now. I use Google's great. Hearing and seeing the feedback makes the learning session easier for the student. In the document, label examples clearly. For example, vague language, previous research. So they know what the problem is. Oh, this one was a vague language. And then you have below it corrected. Let's look at a sheet here. This is what a common tutoring sheet looks like for me. The title, Josh and Antony Tutoring Feedback Working Document. Something simple. Tutoring session, 2nd of May, 2024. I have a vocabulary, a pronunciation, and a full sentences section. Your paper will look very different. If you're doing something else, it'll look very different than this. Then we have tutor session 1 below. I like to keep the most recent tutoring session at the top, so you don't have to go scroll down and find it. Just a fun fact there. So we have most recent session at the top, categories for different materials, older sessions below. Seems simple. This is incredibly powerful. If you can take one thing away from today, it's that you want to open a shared document. Here are some of the benefits. This helps students see their progress. If you work with a student over 2 years, like I have before, they can go back in a document and they can see how much their English has changed or what they worked on 2 months ago, so they can refresh their memory. If you don't have notes, there is no refresh on memory. How do we learn? We refresh our memory. That's what flashcards are. When you tutor a student, you don't have flashcards. You're not making flashcards. This is the solution. It also helps the tutor remember what you have worked on with that specific student. Have we met before? Yes, Antony. I saw you last week. Yeah, what are we talking? Right, okay. Horrible situation to be in. This helps you remember your students. And this helps you remember their specific challenges. Because every student, as we know, is very different. Lastly, the student can show it to their professor or with their peers. Huge. Professors love to see what their students are doing. They love it. They love it. They love it. They love it. Say, hey, professor, I went to Antony. We had a tutoring session. Here's what we worked on. Do you think we should work on something specific in the next section, or am I on the right track? And the professor can say, oh, this is good. I think you're ready to move on to your results section. Fantastic. Now the student has more direction, and the professor knows that the student is trying hard. You're helping the student be a good student. I like that quote. When you write a paper on me in the future about inspirational speeches you heard, put my name on that one. The student can do follow-up and revise on their own time. The student can do follow-up and revise on their own time. Follow up with their peers, follow up with their professors. Next topic, use examples often and keep examples separate from theory. This is, as English level gets lower, this becomes more important. Some students, it's hard to know when you're transitioning from an example that's different, a theory, and a correction. Let's do some examples. So examples help the students make meaning. Great. When you want to give an example, make it clear that you are about to give one. You're giving an example, not a correction. For example, great. Let's do an example. Small phrases like this help keep your tutoring organized. About halfway, maybe a little over halfway. Any questions? Are there two parts to that question? One part. Yeah, I'll say good luck with tutoring students that have very low English ability. My tip for that would be to, as much as possible, let them see, let them hear, let them speak, let them read. As much as possible, all of them. If you're talking, especially with younger kids, if you're talking for 95% of the time, nothing's going to stick. Kids need all of it. More, besides means I'm going to give another point, but it's not that important. Besides means I've made a strong argument and I have one other small piece of information. In academic writing, all pieces of information are important. All of it. If you're writing it, it's important. So besides is used in conversational English, like, oh, I can't go to the market this weekend with you. I have a test on Friday. Besides, I'm a little tired. The test is your main reason. Also, like, I'm a little tired and I don't want to go. So in addition is very straightforward. I have another point. Moreover means I have another, there's some nuance. It means I have another point. And furthermore, I like furthermore because it means I've made a strong argument and I'm gonna make it even stronger. That's what furthermore sounds like. So if you use furthermore, it means your last point is like, it's a good one. Good? Do you understand? Yeah, two good questions. Can I answer your second question at the end of the seminar? So the second question was about generative AI tools. Can I answer that later? Yes. Okay, great. So the first question was, what happens if the student's English level is better than mine and or their subject proficiency? Yeah, very good question. International students, when we ask for help from local Taiwanese people, we're looking for a different perspective. Yeah? We're not always looking for a specific answer, but perhaps your opinion, perhaps your perspective. If I give you material and then say, I'm trying to present this weekend, do these slides make sense for a Taiwanese audience? Yeah? And in those cases, you're the perfect person. So often they know they're going to get a Taiwanese perspective, and that's what they want. So even if their subject knowledge is better than yours, you are different than they are, and that's why they're coming to you. I wouldn't stress out too much. Remember when we talked about being a collaborator? Your job is to not be the lecturer. Your job is not to be the teacher. Your job's to be more personal with them. And it's always okay to say, I don't know. That's a whole slide later. And I have some solutions for that as well. Does that fully answer your first question? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Does that fully answer your question? Is better than do you understand? Yeah. Okay, are we ready to move on? Let's do it. Provide encouragement throughout the session. Tutoring processes can be stressful for everybody. Giving encouragement helps the student stay positive and engaged. Tutor, yes, nice question. I think I did that today. Good one. This sentence is now a lot more clear. Fantastic. I like the structure of your argument. Okay, as we see, they get a little more difficult. For the teachers in the room, I was scaffolding you. Next, point 2. The best kind of praise is given when the student gets over a hurdle. It means makes a breakthrough. When they do something big. Praise that leap. The next best type is when a student makes an improvement, just makes an improvement. Praise the courage of the student for trying. Pronunciation teachers in the room, you know how hard this can be. You have to say the same word again and again and again and again and again. I've done it my whole life. It's really my whole professional life. It's stressful for everybody because they want to get it right. You want them to get it right. They're not getting it right. They know they're not getting it right. You can hear a difference. They can't hear a difference. As somebody who's tried to learn a little bit of Chinese, I can't get it right. And my teachers need to give me praise when I actually do get it right. Number 3, encouragement boosts student confidence and drive. Encouragements help to reduce nerves and encourages participation. I would say this is more useful for young students, but it's also extremely useful for old students to encourage participation. Next section, what happens if you don't know the answer? Here we go. You're a person too. You won't know all of the answers. If you don't know the answer, don't make one up. I've made that mistake before. I use Google regularly when helping students write research, especially when they're doing like APA. Antony, how do I cite this source? Let's make sure. I don't want to guess. Let's get it right. I go to Purdue OWL. You probably have all been there, and we figure it out together. Follow up with the student later if you need to find the answer after the session. Also a very good strategy. You look it up later, you ask your professor later, you ask a colleague later, and you give the answer later as well. Great strategy. Next slide. Consider the student's culture when giving feedback. Taiwan loves giving direct negative feedback. No, we're not a very direct negative feedback culture here. So, the way a student reacts to feedback depends on their cultural background. Direct negative feedback cultures, Germany and France. If you have a German boss, and the German boss gives you feedback, they just stabbed you in the heart, twisted it, pulled it out, and let you die on the floor. They're not being mean. They're just being direct. They don't hate you. They're just being direct. Indirect negative feedback cultures, Taiwan and Japan. I think maybe possibly you could consider, yeah? That sentence is wrong. I'm confused. Very different feelings. So identify who you're talking to and identify their personal style. I come from the US. The US is in the middle. The US often has both. We lean, it depends on the situation, but we are right in the middle on the chart. And ask the student, do you want me to be direct with my negative feedback? You can. If they're older, you can just ask them, how do you like to receive feedback? Consider the student's culture when giving negative feedback, part 2. I'll fill these all in. Start at the top. Consider breaking up negative feedback with some praise. I really like how this sentence is worded. Your slide structure is nice and clear. This sounds like native English. Well done. You might read a paragraph if you're editing something. They've got 100 mistakes. That's really stressful for the student. They worked really hard on that paragraph, and you're just going to bump, 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 bump. So you need to add some information in there just to take a break from the criticism, the critique. So that would be sentences like this. Create a supportive environment. Show empathy and understanding. Acknowledge the difficulties of learning a new language and offer support and encouragement. I'm repeating this because it's helpful. Tutor example sentence. I can see why you thought this sentence should be in the present tense. Finding the correct tense takes practice in this situation. Let's change this sentence to past tense so it matches the previous sentence. Keep it simple. So give the praise, give the solution, and give why you gave that solution. Oh, it needs to match the previous sentence. Then they keep writing. It needs to match the previous sentence. If you just change it, they maybe don't understand why. Create a supportive environment, part 2. Be a teammate and a collaborator. Here's some example sentence. Let's change this to past tense. Love it. Love it. Love it. What are we working on today? Love it. You can use that every single time you meet with a student. Every single time I have a question, yeah, what are we working on today? We made some great improvements. So this would be a reflection. This sort of speaking is not hierarchical. It's egalitarian. Taiwan is a very hierarchy-based society. Most of East Asia is a hierarchy-based society. Egalitarian societies are often like Northern European. So that would be kind of the shift. It's not just Western cultures, because the United States is a little in the middle. So it depends. But using we and let's is a fantastic way to build relationships. How to conclude a session. Let the student know if the session is going to end soon, or if you need to leave, or if the class is over. Leave time for and check for last-minute questions. Say that the lesson is over. What does this look like? We have about 5 minutes left. This is very useful for students. What in the lesson questions do you have? Be very specific, in this lesson, not about your whole paper, but in the lesson. Number 3, when the session is over, that's the last point we are going to cover today. Would you like to schedule another lesson? Would you like to schedule another meeting with me? Oh yeah, I do want to meet with you again, Antony. This was very helpful. Some of us get money from these, so you need to sell your next thing. If you're a TA and you love tutoring, you might become a tutor in the future. This is how you make more money. Hey, would you like to schedule your next session? It also shows that you're interested in their success. It's not a selfish thing. It's just a little selfish, but it's also, you're showing that you're interested. Recap and give homework or next steps. So recap the main points of learning, give specific next steps for the students. These steps often reinforce learning. I know you're not a teacher, but you can give homework. There's no grade. Today we worked on making your writing more concise and more direct. There's your recap. Please revise the rest of this section using a similar language style to what we did today, and update the Google Doc. When they update the Google Doc, you know when you start the next tutoring session. Oh wow, look what you learned. I love it. I like saying this recap when you say concise and direct, because if you say that 5 times in a row, the student might feel more motivated. Oh, I want to be more concise and direct so I can move on with my tutor, right? I want to work on pronunciation. I need to be more concise and direct so I can do that. That is pretty much all of my content. Think of your questions. I'm going to address the AI question now, and then time check. How much time do we have?
10 to 20.
Good. Perfect. Okay. So AI, large language models, times are changing. In the past, it was the calculator. Students now do math less because they use calculators. The future is large language models and generative AI. That's kind of the fact. School policy takes priority. If the school says you need to write everything on your own and the student wants to use an AI, you need to make sure that they know that they're violating the code of conduct. So school policy will take priority. I personally love AI for giving me some brainstorming, for giving me a second way of thinking about something, for, like often I'll say, hey, can you make a list of 10 things? Let's just give it 10 problems commonly faced in electrical engineering. And it gives me 10. I need to make a seminar. Maybe I use 7. And then I expand upon those 7 in my own way. I use it as a brainstorm. For students learning English, I love using prompts like, please write this sentence in Native American English or Native British English. Or, please write this sentence at a 10th grade reading level. You can be very specific with these things, so they can be very helpful. But for content generation, you might actually be violating the school's code. So just be careful. Does that fully answer your question? Yeah, so the question is, if the student went to class and the class was in English and they didn't understand the English, and then the student comes to the tutor and then they say, please teach me everything that happened in class in Chinese. I think this problem is beyond you. On a base level, if the student can't understand the lecture, I think they should pick a different class. So potentially there might be a policy for that. You might have to talk to the professor. In that moment, providing tools with helping them understand in the future, I think is your job. I don't think it's your job to reteach the lesson in Chinese. I think it's your job to give them the ability to do it in class. There's great tools. There's tools that can record audio and transcribe it. So perhaps they put their phone on their desk, and just like on the TV when you have subtitles, the lesson could be subtitled in front of them. That does exist, and that technology is only getting better. Stuff I do is at the beginning, at the top right, I had a QR code that you could download. And if you didn't understand what the slide said, you have access to the slide. You could screenshot it, throw it into Google Translate. You could have been doing that this entire time. But professors don't do that. Is there a better answer that anybody has, or a more specific answer? If your student wants you to translate the entire lesson, I don't have that problem because they know I can't translate the lesson. Yeah, any ideas? I know we're in Taiwan, but in America, you can actually give feedback to the professor directly. Sorry, professor, we're having a really hard time understanding your accent. Yeah? There's a lot of international professors in the United States. A lot of Americans have no access to international accents. I can understand Taiwanese English, I can understand Japanese English, Indian English, but that took 10 years. Yeah? So students don't have that. So if the professor's a foreign teacher and they're having a hard time understanding the accent, that teacher probably would appreciate the feedback. That teacher might slow down. That teacher might speak louder.
But before that, we still need to showing the certificate of appreciation.
Thank you so much.
So, gonna take a picture.
Is there a photo? Oh, yeah. Can we come forward?
Yeah, sure. Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thanks for all the questions too, and I enjoyed meeting you all.
So if you have more questions, you feel free to come here. Thank you.
Contact information's on the screen if you would like.
Yeah, you can also see the YouTube